Hey everyone, David Aragona and Craig Milkowski here, taking a look at the feature race at Saratoga on Saturday, going off pretty early in the day, race 5. It is the Grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks for the 3-year-old fillies, going a mile and an eighth on the main dirt track at Saratoga. And Craig, not the biggest field signed on, but we do have the two big hitters in the 3-year-old filly division right now, Nest and Secret Oath, facing off against each other once again, a rematch of the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, it's just the way racing is these days, and you can't blame a lot of connections for being scared off by Secret Oath and Nest. Both of them have looked really talented this year, accomplished a lot. Obviously, Secret Oath won the Oaks, ran deceptively well in the Preakness, and Nest didn't embarrass herself at all in the Belmont, running well. So, understandable why there's a small field.
Yeah, these are the two that could be vying for supremacy in the run up to the Eclipse Award voting towards the end of the year. We'll see how that all shakes out. Clearly, a lot can happen between now and the Breeders' Cup at the end of the year, but they are definitely the two most accomplished fillies in this division right now. And as you said, both are coming off performances where they faced males in Triple Crown races, Secret Oath in the Preakness, Nest doing pretty well in the Belmont Stakes. So we'll see how they bounce back running against their own gender here. Before we get to the contenders, though, let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. Small field signed on, Craig, and there's really not a whole lot of speed in here. You would imagine the undefeated filly, the number 2 Society, is going to lead them early.
Yeah, you would think so. I don't see what other tactics she would be able to employ if she was going to have a chance to win this race. So I would be surprised if she's not out there all by herself.
Yeah, I don't think either favorite is going to be terribly compromised by pace in this race. Nest obviously has plenty of tactical speed. We saw her work out some stalking trips in a few of her stakes wins earlier this year. Secret Oath, maybe a bit more of a closer, but she's actually showing pretty close up on this pace projector, and I think she has more tactical speed than we've seen them use in some of her recent races.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. She's shown a good turn of foot when needed. She's lagged back when the pace is fast. But if you go back to some of her earlier races in her career when the pace was not very quick, she was able to stay a lot closer.
Let's take a look at Secret Oath's last race when she did try the males in the Grade 1 Preakness, the second jewel of the Triple Crown. And Craig, as you were kind of alluding to at the intro, didn't get the best trip in this race. All things considered, really didn't run that badly to be fourth.
No, she ran really well, I thought. What we don't see in that replay is the start, which wasn't great. She had a wide trip all the way around the track, and she actually ran her best speed figure ever that day. It was just a really fast race with early voting and epicenter turning in really top performances. And I thought she did really well in here to only be beaten 6 lengths.
I pretty much agree with that. Early voting, one of the top 3-year-olds out there right now, say the same for Epicenter, and they're just better horses than she is, but she ran on valiantly for fourth. Clearly, she was better than Nest when they faced off in the Kentucky Oaks two-back. I thought that Nest got a great trip in that race. Secret Oath covered a lot more ground and just asserted her superiority. We'll see if one of these fillies takes a big step forward into the summer. Clearly, Secret Oath doesn't have to improve that much on her recent speed figures, but we'll see if Nest is the one taking a step forward into this race. But it's going to be interesting to see how they do in both of these top summer races at Saratoga, the Coaching Club American Oaks, and the Alabama. Let's take a look at Nest's last race when she tried the Belmont Stakes. She did pretty well in here, finishing second to her stablemate, Mo Donegal, well clear of the rest of the field. A little bit of traffic in the upper stretch, Craig, at to alter course. I didn't think it really affected her finish, though.
No, she wasn't going to beat the winner that day, in my opinion, but it doesn't take away from how well she ran. She actually got a 124 speed figure, which is better than we've seen Secret Oath run. It's obviously at a mile and a half. This is much shorter race here. So I'm not sure how well that will transfer, but she's a horse who was competitive anyway. It's not like in the Oaks she was distanced or anything. She ran a good second, beating only 2 lengths. So she's going to need to improve, but she very well may have in that Belmont Stakes. It's just a little bit disguised and hard to judge because of the distance of that race.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she ran really well in that spot. You wonder what the distance did have to do with it because she is bred so well to stretch out in distance. But the mile and an eighth of this coaching club, American Oaks, should also be right up her alley. We'll see how she does with this rematch with Secret Oath. They both have a nice turn of foot. They both get the distance. It's just going to be a matter of who's really doing best on the day. I really liked Nest's last workout that I watched. It was in company with last year's 2-year-old champion Corniche, who's now in the Todd Pletcher barn. And to my eye, Nest pretty clearly outworked Corniche. So it seems like she's doing really well coming into this race. And if you want more workout information, you can check out Mike Welsh's Clocker report. He and his team put together some good information. You can find more information about that on DRF.com. Let's move on to one of the intriguing runners stepping up in class in this race. That is Society. We talked about her a little bit with regard to the pace projector. Likely to play out as the early speed, Craig. Hasn't been headed in her last couple of starts. Actually came from off the pace to win her debut, but the result has been the same every time, crossing the wire first, just stepping up against much tougher company here.
Yeah, she obviously is. And the big question with her, it isn't so much, she does seem to have a pace advantage in here, but I don't believe she's quick enough. You can see her speed figures. She actually regressed a little bit first time going 2 turns, getting that mile and a 16th at Churchill, dropping from a 107 to a 104. And while that's not a huge thing, when you're moving out to even further distance, I just think it's going to be tough with the small field. It's not like there's a lot of traffic the others are going to have to overcome. And I guess you got to respect the record, but she's not one I would take too seriously in here.
Yeah, watching this Phillies races, I actually like what I've seen from her. She's a really hard trier. She lets her competition come to her, and it seems like she's the kind of horse that likes a fight because she always battles back, kind of lets her rivals get on terms, and then pulls away again at the end. It seems like she really does know how to win these races, but like you said, she's going to have to run significantly faster to finish ahead of the 2 favorites in this spot. Not going to be surprised when she takes them a long way up front because the pace doesn't figure to be that fast, but when the real running starts in the stretch, she's going to have a tough time holding off Nest and Secret Oath. A horse who is also making the step up in class, but off a series of victories, is the number 1 Butterbean, coming in with a 3-race winning streak. We'll take a look at her winning the Iowa Oaks in her last start at Prairie Meadows. And Craig, this filly has a little bit of Silky Sullivan in her. She comes from way back, but makes a big run around the turn to get the job done here pretty easily.
Yeah, she's obviously an improving sort. She was actually in for a tag not all that long ago, back in May, I believe it was, at Churchill. And she's just improved every step of the way. She's another one. She's definitely going to have to keep improving. I'm not sure she's going to get a lot of pace in here to help with her running style. So I think she'd be a pretty big stretch to pull the upset.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that her 2 races at Prairie Meadows have been significantly better than any of her prior forms. So maybe she just really likes that surface, or you can use some extra medication at that track. Maybe that had something to do with her improvement as well. But she's got to translate that form to Saratoga, which could be easier or tougher to do than you might think based on her last couple of speed figures. Let's talk about the one other rival of this race we haven't mentioned yet. That is the number 4, Nostalgic. Let's take a look at her victory 2 back when she won her prep for the Kentucky Oaks in the Gazelle. Just got a great trip this day, Craig, saving ground every step of the way, sneaking through inside, but felt like maybe she was a little bit exposed, finishing at the back of the pack in the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, that New York route to the Kentucky Oaks wasn't the strongest. The Gazelle was not one of the stronger races, despite it being a 100-point race. She didn't get much of a speed figure in there. So for me, I'm not even sure what her running style really is. She seems like she may be amongst the favorites and just not have the kick. So she's not for me in here. She's going to be a big price. So if you like her, obviously that's for you. I'm not going to try to talk anybody off big prices, but we're dealing with 3 of those in here against 2 pretty logical favorites. So I'm not on the nostalgic bandwagon.
Yeah, I agree. That Gazelle has just not come back as the strongest race overall. Haven't loved the way she's training into this race. From my vantage point, she's the least likely winner of the 5 entered. Just not for me in this spot. Before we get to our top picks, remember that you should subscribe to the DRF YouTube channel. Catch all of our videos, the pedigree reporting that Dan Illman and Nicole Russo do, the stakes previews from Dan and Mike Beer, a lot of good content on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe. Craig, let's throw up our top picks for this race. We've got the same exact, just in a slightly different order. You went with Secret Oath. I went with Nest.
Yeah, honestly, it was a coin toss for me. It could go either way. I'm not going to be surprised. I just went a little bit hoping that that Belmont Stakes maybe was the distance that helped Ness more to that inflated, not inflated. She earned that speed figure, but not sure. But she'll be able to repeat it here. Where I'm pretty sure that Secret Oath is going to be able to repeat her best number. So just the slightest of edges to her for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically a coin flip between these two. It just feels to me like Nest is really doing well coming into this race. They weren't originally going to run here, but she's been training so well out of the Belmont Stakes. They decided to take a shot run here as a prep for the Alabama. So just getting some positive vibes from her. We'll see. I think they're going to be pretty comparable prices. They both have pretty large followings, but I gave the slight edge to Nest. Craig went with Secret Oath in the Grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks on Saturday at Saratoga. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.